Agile. Sorry.
How does risk managed and work with risk appetite?
How does Roche manage to work with risk appetite?
That's for me, okay. So the risk appetite, as I mentioned, the role framework can be adjusted. So as of now, it's not a standard field which is inbuilt, but you have the possibility to create a field where you can say risk appetite, and then you can also drop down menu, you can select risk appetite. It is a standard evaluation on the iGraphics platform where you can evaluate the risk appetite. It's just not a field enrolled yet, but the workflow is customizable and easily. Yeah, and then, I mean, what might be one approach is that the higher the appetite, the less treatment you want, or the other way around. I don't know. So the lower your appetite, the more you have to control the risk, because if your risk appetite is low, you do not want to take that risk at all. So you have to have more controls. So I can think about having a gateway in the process that talks about the risk appetite, and that would be one possible development.
Okay. Michael, I'm going to hold you to something here, which is I'm always interested in the difference between something that is merely an improvement and something that's a genuine transformation. So where the different lines?
Yeah, sometimes you hear about organisations talking about transformation, and realistically, when you actually see what they're trying to convey, it's really just operational improvement. And what that really speaks to is the organisation maybe doesn't have just operational improvement, doesn't have continuous improvement, hasn't embedded those kind of disciplines. So what you tend to find is there's organisations that have continuous improvement and they're always looking to improve their processes, making minor adjustments as they go along, adapting to small changes in their environment and their external marketplace. Sometimes there comes along a specific kind of event, like a massive change, new entrant, disruptor into the marketplace, and you have to change, and you have to do a step change. That's more of a transformation. Other organisations tend to sort of just operate how they operate until it gets critical, and then they have to do a transformation. So normally transformation is where you have to change a lot of aspects within an organisation, as opposed to operational, which is those continuous improvements.
Sure. From a controls point of view, what you tend to find in organisations when they don't keep on top of it is you get a general decay, and actually the decay hits a certain point where actually things become out of control, and you've just been lucky on the decay, but you haven't actually hit any compliance or regulatory issues, and then you hit one. And then suddenly people go, wow, we need a big transformation because actually things have got so good.
It's like a build of compression, then it has to flip.
And the IT equivalent of that is you're on legacy systems that you just can't change, right? It's the same investment mindset. But what I was going to say is I think that, it's also interesting, and the phrasing is almost a false dichotomy, I think, in where technology has taken the process world in the last 5 years, right? Because if you go back to 5 years ago, the only changes you considered were really process transformation was to change the whole value chain stream at once. And when you do that, you're going to rip everything out, put a workflow solution in, end-to-end automation of it all. That was your choice, right? And almost always with a transformation, it's a big-ticket investment. And, Lean Six Sigma mindsets and the way the process methodology side certainly reinforce that. We think about moving everything across the workstream. But if you look at where the RPA vendors are starting and where they're playing, they're like, here's your end-to-end value stream, and bottleneck is the third task. And classically, Six Sigma or end-to-end would say you got to think about and re-engineer the whole process before you fix that, because it's just going to bottleneck the next thing. There's a whole word for it, local sub-optimization, right? There's a whole methodology. But the RPA guys were like, well, forget that. It's going to cost you 10 grand to fix that. And it'll bottleneck the next step. Well, okay, screw that. We'll spend 10 grand to fix that, right? So, like that, I'm not saying that that's the right approach or the perfect approach, but I'm saying that certainly the difference between those two is changing, right? And the way that they're selling into the market, the way they're positioning, and the way they're giving you the cost point to invest into process change is changing the dynamic between transformation and continuous improvement. It's moving them closer together in some cases.
So it's like a continuous in that. In the case of where are you on that? An RPA can be tactical, but also can be strategic and more transformational.
And it's really interesting, the talk track inside a lot of the RPA universe and what the RPA pieces of that, the robotics part of the process family, is really about the philosophy of marginal gains. How do you become great at something? You know, it's a continuous improvement talk track, right?
Can I make a comment on that?
Of course you can.
There's an old saying, isn't there, doing things right and doing the right thing. So I think that incremental change is about doing things right. And as I think it was Mario said earlier on, you could be doing the wrong thing very, very often. So I think more strategic change is about doing the right thing. And that might be highlighted by a disruptor coming along, or it might simply come across when you say, well, I think I'm in this business, but my customers tell me I'm actually in this business, I need to change what I do.
Yeah, also, don't knock fools. I can't remember the word you said.
Dichotomy.
Yeah, don't knock a fool's dichotomy. I'm a journalist as well.
Thank you.
Actually, you make a really good point, which is that if you keep making incremental changes, at the end of those changes, or as you progress on, you do find yourself transformed. So the question I want to put to everyone, you all work in this space, what do you think stops people from making those really positive changes until it's, as David might say, almost too late, where you're forcing a massive transformation in a short amount of time? What stops people taking that, making those small changes in your life?
I think it comes down to people are scared to do 80%, 90%, something that's not 100% right. So they're not prepared before they've got a plan that says, actually, we're going to have everything right before we start, everything planned out, and so they don't start the journey. And I had this same challenge with some people when I was at Camelot doing the program there, where I said, look, don't worry about what we've got to do in 2 years and the maturity curve. We don't need to plan that now. At the moment, we don't have any documentation that's up to date. So let's just kill that one first. Let's just get some documentation. What we do with it in 2 years' time, don't worry about that now. Because if you worry about that now, you'll never start getting the documentation done. I think people forget that they've just got to start doing things without knowing the full answer.
Yeah, taking a risk.
Yeah, I second that as well. I make the experience quite a lot also in the DACH markets, so Germany, Austria, Switzerland, where people are even more accurate and want to get it out once they have everything correct. So this takes 3, 4, 5 years before they even go live with the tool or before they even do the processes model. Plus, sometimes they do not just apply the right methodology. So we often hear terms center of excellence, which should be in place first before you start doing such a project. And they start randomly doing things. One division does that, the next division does that, but they don't communicate with each other. So I think that's the biggest hurdle that you need to understand.
Yes, done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It depends from the level of transformation that you want to do, because some companies, they are really short for cash, especially at the moment. So therefore, I have been forced in compliance mailing to work with spreadsheets because, I've not been given the opportunity to use automated solution. So for example, I had to do all the mapping of the rules from the FC handbook manually. So cash and resources is one of the constraints, but also is the mentality and the culture of the company. And sometimes people in the company, they are reluctant to use something new that they have tested before. So I think that there is still way to go in terms of how you promote alternative intelligence, artificial intelligence to banks and financial institutions.
I think people are often bound by short-term thinking. That if you know the life expectancy of a CEO is shorter than the life expectancy of a PC in most organisations. And so thinking is often very short-term. And to make big transformation, you need to have that courage and need to see things through to the long term. And I don't think in some companies the leadership is prepared to take that gamble and take the safe route.
Going back to RPA Live, sorry, it sounds like a sales pitch for me. But one of the first sessions we did was with the Vice President of Mars, and she told us that the thing that she's using RPA for is not cutting the bottom line. It's not sacking people left, right, and centre. It's adding value all the way through. Because what they're using it for is to make sure they're adding value all the way along. Let's take another question before we wrap for lunch, because I'm aware very much that I am between you and food. So, let's just see. These are all very specific questions.
That's okay.
If it come, well, if it's a really specific question, it can be, you know, this is a nice informal event, so we can talk about it over lunch. But if it comes down to, okay, there's one from Michael. If it comes down to process, what are the mistakes that people are making?
The world that I occupy is all about creating digital twins of real processes, with things and people moving around. And I think a lot of the time, a lack of understanding of the process, even by the people that run it, is a big problem. The simulation can sometimes reveal that, and it can also reveal, improve the understanding to begin with, before they move on to try and fix something. Simulation is certainly revealed when decisions have already been made. You built a simulation after the event, but the decision that was made was a poor one.
I guess people think DTO, that's always going to be like, it's quite an investment of time and energy and money to make a DTO, and then how close is it going to be to reality?
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you get something wrong, certainly with a multi-million-pound investment program,
Sure.
you have wasted a lot of time and money. We did some work in the nuclear industry where they wanted to increase production, and the mindset was, well, if we want to increase production, we need to speed everything up. And when we built the simulation and we speeded everything up, less came out. Now, there were quite complex reasons for that, which the simulation revealed. The interesting thing was, and it took a bit of courage, we slowed the thing down in the simulation and production increased. When they did it in the real world, it was proved to be the case. Unfortunately, so they saved millions of pounds doing that, but they'd already spent millions of pounds and 6 to 9 months of compliance check. Because it's a nuclear facility, to get it, it's a regulated industry, they had to get it re-licensed for a faster rate, which was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
In the process, quite often people don't understand really what are the risks, what are the type of controls that they should be making in order to ensure that the process is robust. Therefore, there is lots of work that compliance and risk we need to do in order to educate the business on how to set up robust controls, because things quite often they can go wrong. But also we need to teach the business how to escalate the risk, because without this communication between compliance, risk and the business, quite often processes that go wrong, and quite often what the business thinks to be a control is actually not a control or not an effective control.
I think the biggest mistake is that you just don't live the process. So what we often hear a lot of requirements is that I need to have process management because I want to get certified. I have to do that. So people just draw something, they say, oh yes, I have processes, but in reality it's completely different. So you do not really live the process, and this is where we have the automation in combination with the simulation to really enforce people to act the way it's designed to be. And that's within automation you can really track down, do they act the way it's supposed to be, and with a simulation you can then uncover if they really do or where you need to modify the process. I think that's the biggest mistake.
I think there needs to be flexibility. I think Mike Tyson said plans are great, but they all go out the window when you get punched in the mouth. Let's finish with you, Dave.
I think the main problem is you don't have the correct ownership of process, especially when they go cross-functionally. People think about process and functions being kind of separate things to each other. So you generally find when you put cross-functionally in a room and say, map the process, someone will go, oh, I didn't realise you did that because of that. And then you get a sudden understanding, and then you say, right, who actually owns the process? Well, okay, we can see now this person owns the process. We now understand why it starts there and why it finishes there. And I think when you don't have ownership, when things go wrong, then you'll get to understand really, isn't it? So I think that's the main problem.
So leadership is kind of
ownership.
ownership and leadership is where it boils down to. I think on that note, it's probably a good idea for us to take lunch and mingle. So, Michael, do you want to go as well?
Just very quickly, don't forget slide two, so there's a load of questions up there, we will respond to all of them, and you'll get access to those. The other one is, we've got a poll running at the moment, I think for some reason only run sequentially, so please log on to slide two, there are some questions there around RPA, digital transformation and risk issues. So get online, take a vote, one hand tweet, one hand to use your vote one phone. And thank you very much. Do stay around to have a bite to eat, have a chat, and there are one-to-ones and demonstrations available after lunch as well.